this up to?
Well, once we. Oi, oi,
Oh, we started. Oi, oi, and welcome to I'm Not in the Frame. Hold on. Let's redo this intro. I'm still not in the frame, but I
oi, oi, I'm Derp Derp.
Oi, oi, welcome to the Dritz Dressin channel. I'm Ski Nerd, that is.
I already said my name. Derp Derp.
He already said his name, right. We here today are, or I should say tonight, because this is at night. We watched a movie, and its name is
Memento.
Memento. Wow, we did it.
Don't expect us to always be able to put the movie up because this is just one that one of us happened to have on DVD.
Yeah, I got it at this was years ago. I got it at a Goodwill a long time ago, and I still haven't watched it until now. Actually, that's not true. This is my second time watching it. This is his first. And
Before we get into it, hit that like, subscribe, comment.
I mean, if you want to.
We're on our way.
Whatever.
We're more than halfway towards our second like goal of 2000 to watch.
Stop liking it.
To watch the second season of One Piece. We came to a conclusion. Instead of 10,000 likes, we'll do, if we get 10,000 subscribers, we will watch and review all of One Piece.
So, for my sake, just don't hit the subscribe button.
For mine and the growth of my channel, please hit the subscribe button.
Well, you can listen to that idiot, or you can listen to this totally smart person.
Who's the one that does all the content? You're only in 3 or 4 videos a week.
Yeah, but I bring the charm and uh, enter other quality feature here.
And while you hit that subscribe button, you might as well also hit notifications. I try to go live almost every day playing video games.
Nerd.
Currently Genshin Impact or Pokemon Infinite Fusions.
I shouldn't be calling him nerd. I play Pokemon D&D, so
Let's get into the review.
Oh, right. The review. Memento. Me, Men, Two. Okay. This is a movie directed by Christopher Nolan.
Came out in 2000.
And when I was in college,
or 2001. Thought I saw 2000, but it's 2001.
I think it was 2000.
2001, United States.
What?
Yep. It was in Venice in September 2000.
Okay. Anyways, I was.
That's exactly why I have the Wikipedia page open.
Yep. Anyways, so my roommate when I was in college introduced me to this movie. He says, "Oh, you haven't seen this movie? Well, let's watch it right now." And he was just like, "This movie is told backwards," and I was like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." And he also told me that the director, who I didn't know the name at the time, made this one and another film. I don't remember what it was, but he said they were so perfect he didn't want to direct again. Well, that's not true because he literally just won an Oscar. Like what was it, 6 months ago now? It's August. I don't know when they have the Oscars. 5-6 months ago.
Oscars are usually like in, I think, like April.
Okay, then 4 months ago. He just won it for Oppenheimer.
He's done a lot though.
Yep.
He's done his first movie being The Following, then Memento, Insomnia, all 3 Batman Dark Knight movies, The Prestige, Inception, Interstellar.
He did Inception?
Yep. Dunkirk, Tenet, and Oppenheimer. He's done a lot.
Yeah. Well, anyways, my roommate was telling me like he made these first two films, so maybe my next should be following and see how what that is like. Anyways, he told
Or
me
maybe we should just do all of them eventually.
he told me that he made these two and they were so perfect that he's like I can't direct anything else again. It's not going to be as good.
Because I know
But
Prestige is really good.
of course, he kept going, which is good. I still have yet to see Oppenheimer. I want to see that. I'll probably watch it with my dad, but it's on the Bird streaming service, the one with all the rainbows and stuff.
Peacock.
And he said it, not me. And I don't have that, so I'm not gonna watch it.
I do, so.
So you can watch it, but I will wait to watch it with my dad. So it doesn't matter if it takes 10 years. I don't care. I'll wait till it's free.
And then we can watch his other movies.
Anyways, um, this movie is a mystery, and it's kind of a thriller.
Yeah.
No, well maybe a little bit. In some places, it's a thriller, but it's more of a mystery. So let's get started. Starts off with him, the main character, Mr. Guy Pearce,
Leonard Shelby.
Leonard Shelby, aka Lenny. He's in a motel room and starts off the film basically is telling us he has this picture of a guy with who's dead on the floor, and he keeps shaking the photograph, and it gets less and less noticeable. Basically, it's telling the audience this movie is going to be told backwards, and that's exactly what happens in this movie. Um, we learn that Lenny has a memory condition where he can't remember things. He has no short-term memory.
His memory basically resets when he wakes up each day.
Actually, no, that's not true.
It resets with the door slamming.
It resets with like either large sounds or just generally it just fades out on him, probably with stress. Um, they didn't really explain that, but you can kind of see it as the film goes on. Um, anyway, so his memory conditioning has no short-term memory. There was an accident he had early in his life where they mention it like 800,000 times, so you might as well mention it here. His wife was raped and murdered by two men. Um,
And the whole mystery is centered around those two men.
and he is trying to get revenge on the person who raped and murdered his wife, basically. Um, he, for whatever reason, he's going to this building and he can't remember why he's there. He's just there, and I think no. Before that, he was leaving a hotel, and wow, I'm having short term memory. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. He come okay. Zen. Okay, nice and serious now. He goes to a building and he sees this truck and he's like, "Huh, what's this truck?" Oh, he was with Teddy. He was with this guy named Teddy. So he and Teddy go to this building, and they're like, "Why?" And he's like, "Why are we in this building?" He's like, "Oh, you needed something was in there," and so he goes in there, um, and he sees this blue truck. He's like, "Oh, so someone must have been here before. Oh, that's weird." And there's bullets in the seat. It's like, okay, there's bullets in there.
Teddy is played by Joe Pantoliano, who's in a lot of like cop movies.
Yeah.
He's He's in all the Bad Boys. He's in Tacoma FD. That's all I can remember.
He's an actor. Anyways, um, so how Lenny remembers stuff is one with tattoos on his body, and two with pictures he takes. He takes the Polaroid pictures, the ones where you shake them,
Mm-hmm.
shake them like a Polaroid picture. Um, and there's a picture of Teddy, and it says Teddy written on there with his phone number, and on the back he is a message that says, "Don't believe Teddy's lies." It's like, oh, we shouldn't believe him. Um, so basically, the movie starts off the intro starts off backwards with a man on the floor, and we're like, who is this? Who is this man? Did he kill someone? Oh my god! So they go into this building, and Teddy and him are there, and they're like, yeah, we're just going to this building, and he sees this message of "Don't believe Teddy's lies," and um, he has more evidence of Teddy being the guy that killed his wife. And so he basically beats him, and he's like, hey, what? Teddy's like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? He's like, yeah, I don't believe you. You're the guy that murdered my wife. He's like, no, I'm not. Lenny, come on, let's talk this out. Let me show you the basement. Let me show you the basement. And he's like, no fucking way. And he shoots him, and in the head, and he's dead. And then this review is gonna get a little messy because every time we back up, we might repeat some information, um, which
Because
is
it's
okay.
shown it's shown multiple times with little changes here and there.
Yeah, and you get a different perspective from with no information and one with the information. Um, so
And just to clarify, what he has is anterograde amnesia, which basically is exactly how we described it. He has the inability to create any new memories, but yeah,
anything before the incident that he
yep,
had, he remembers all of it.
yep.
So, um,
I looked it up just so we could
so
get the scientific term.
yeah, which is probably smart. So then it kind of flashes back, and it shows uh, Teddy with a fake ID. It shows him not as being a Teddy, but as a John. I forget his last name, but it starts with a
John
G.
G.
John G. Um, and it's like, oh shit, he's the guy that killed his wife. What a douchebag.
Gamble is his last
Gamble,
name.
Gamble, and he he has messages to himself in tattoos to help him get through the day and to help him, solve this mystery with his wife. Um, and it's shown that, he's looking for his wife's killer, and his wife was raped and murdered by this John G. Um, then it kind of flashes back to um, Natalie, and
He's
this is
played by Carrie Ann Moss.
Trinity from The Matrix. So if you're a Matrix fan, you probably want to watch this. Or not. The choice is yours. Uh, it's
Okay,
an inside joke.
yeah. If you
Um,
went to the same high school as us.
yeah. Anyways, they don't need to know that. Natalie's there, and she has info from the DMV. She's like, "Oh, I ran the plates that you have," and the plates correlated with this John G, this Teddy guy, the guy, um, the don't believe all his lies guy, and it has the car number, and it's registered in this guy's name. So you're like, oh shit, boom, that's the guy. You got the information, but it keeps going backwards. Um, And we find out that he stayed at her place, and he mentions just so many times that he has this condition. He has to say it like over and over again. He's like, "Oh, did I tell you this before? Yeah, I have a condition. Yeah, I know who you are." It's like, "You do? Oh, okay, good." um, I stayed at her place last night, um, and we get a little information on his background. He's an expert in gathering info. He worked for an insurance company. Like he was an investigator, pretty much. And sorry, an insurance investigator.
Investigating insurance claims and
Yeah. So if somebody has an injury, he makes sure that before they get paid, that they're actual real and they're not trying to BS the insurance company. So he's really good at that, and that's what he knows, and that's what he does. Um, and we find out that Mr. Lenny is only living for revenge at this point. He still hasn't found the killer, and he's just so close. Um, and then he learns that the guy at the hotel is ripping him off. He has a conversation with him earlier, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the room is $40," and another keeps going backwards. Um, he learns that the hotel guy, took advantage of his condition and charged him for an extra room. Um, so he's like, "Well, you ripped me off, but at least you're honest about it." um, and then he sees a tattoo on his hand that says, "Remember Sammy Jenkins." And
Jenkins.
I thought it was
There's no
Jenkins.
N. It's Jenkins.
Jenkins?
Yep.
Can you double check that, Sammy? Oh shit! I was doing it wrong the whole time. Holy shit. Okay, Sammy Jenkins then um, was a guy that he was investigating. It was his first case, and a guy with similar memory condition as Lenny. However, his was only Lenny or Sammy's was 3 minutes that he could remember stuff. So he didn't really like TV shows because he couldn't remember what happened at the beginning, but commercials were fine. And so basically, he was investing this guy to see if his condition was real. I believe he was in a car accident, right?
Yep.
Is that what it was? Yeah, car accident, and his wife is taking care of him, and they're trying to get insurance claim for that. Hold on, hold on, just moving around here. Ooh, owie, owie, owie. Oh, fucking Christ. Injuries, huh? Aren't they fun? Um, then it goes to we're in Natalie's room at her house, I believe. Um, and we learned that he helped Natalie. Something about her or drug dealer, not her boyfriend, and she mentioned like, "Oh yeah, I tried to get money to this drug dealer, and he's really dangerous." And he's like, why is he after you?" And she's like, "Oh, cause of my boyfriend Jimmy or whatever." Um, Something about drugs and stuff like that. Um, for revenge. Getting ripped off in the hotel. Came to murder 3 weeks ago. There we go. Oh, and then we learned about Sammy's test. It kind of keeps going back to this story of this Sammy Jenkins. Um, Sammy took a test with the guy from Reno 911. Can't remember his name. Do you remember his name? He was
Um,
a Lieutenant Dangle, I think that's what his character's name is.
Thomas Lennon.
Thomas Lennon, yeah. He was Lieutenant Dangle, I think it was. Should have started in 2003.
I'm pretty sure he's also in Tacoma
Oh,
FD.
yeah. What was his Lieutenant Jan Jim Dangle? That's what it is. Lieutenant Jim Dangle. In Reno 911. So he's a scientist, and has this test. They're testing his memory to see if he's faking it or not. So there's like six objects on this table, and the goal was to some of them are
Have an electricity charge.
yeah, they had an electric charge running through them, and the goal was to see if he could remember if this electric charge would help him remember um, which ones are charged and which ones aren't. So he picks up one, he's like, oh, this one's easy, and then he picks up this one and it zaps him, but he keeps touching the one that zaps him
And
over and over and over again.
they're also testing to see if repetition helps with his memory.
Yeah, and it seemed to not be working with the memory. Anyways, um, savings test, and then we learn, and then it flashes back, and he has a picture of Dodd, a man named Dodd, and he's all like bloody and has tape over his face, and we're like, okay, who the hell is Dodd? And then we learn, then Lenny goes to a restaurant to meet a Natalie, and she's sitting at the table, and he's like, oh, hi, who are you? And she's like, I'm Natalie. It's like, this is our first real conversation with Natalie, and she has a bloody lip, and he's like, oh, can you take your sunglasses off? I need to look people in the face when I talk to them. Um, that was one of his traits as an insurance investigator to see if people are lying to him. He needs to look at them in the face, and he mentions in in his job description that he could get more information out of people just by listening to them and letting them talk, which is a pretty good strategy because sometimes you say the wrong thing. Sometimes you say the truths that you are trying to keep inside. Anyways, so Dodd and Natalie says, "Oh yeah, Dodd punched me in the face," and she also mentions that she lost Jimmy, um, who met Teddy. So Jimmy is her boyfriend, and something um, happened with Teddy, the guy who you should not do not believe his lies, Teddy. Um, and then he kind of mentions that he can't feel time. He can he can he can remember like touches, how things feel, but he just can't remember any like details of it. Like he remembers his wife's bed was cold um, when he woke up and she was gone. She's like, and he was like, oh, she's been gone for a while. Anyways, um, and then it cuts back to Lenny denying Sammy's claim, saying it was a mental condition and not a physical condition. Therefore, they didn't cover him, and so they charged the the wife with all the medical bills, 100%. And because he denied the claim, he got a promotion. Awesome. Um, Even though he had like memory issues, and they said, "Oh, it was a mental thing that can be fixed, not a physical thing." Even though it is, it's like both basically, and he can't. It's in, basically at this point, it's impossible for him to remember anything. Um, and then he then kind of goes back again, and he wakes up, and Dodd is in his closet in a hotel room, and Ted comes by, and he's like, oh, hi, who are you? He's like, I'm Ted. You called me earlier. You said you needed help. He's like, oh, I did. Oh, okay. And he hears a noise, and he's like, what's that? And he opens the closet, and Dodd's in there. He's like, oh shit. Yeah, we can't call the cops. We gotta get this guy the fuck out of here. We need to, and he finds the gun, and so he starts scaring him. They're like, we need to scare him, and you know, so they both have their own cars, and one of the guys drives away. I think it that was that in his Jaguar. I think it was.
Yep.
He drives away in his Jaguar, and he gets in sorry, not Teddy's car, and he drives away. He's like, did you scare him enough? He's like, his goal, Teddy's um, uh, recommendation was to scare the shit out of him so we leave town, and um, we get little notes here and there of Natalie wanted you to go after Dodd because he beat her up basically, and so hey, problem taken care of. This is great. Dodd's taken care of, Teddy's taken care of, and hey, he's just doing his job. He's just trying to get revenge for his wife. He also does helps women who get beat up by asshole guys. It's pretty good. Um, and yep, ask for Teddy's help, and we learn more about Sammy's mental problem. How the basically the wife went back to the office and was asking Lenny like, "Hey, is there anything I can do? Well, what's your professional opinion? Can he get help? Will he get better?" And at first he's like, "Oh, I guess you're appealing the case," and she's like, "No, I'm not appealing. I just want your professional like honest opinion for the next 30 seconds." And he says, "Yes, I believe he can get better with time," and she is relieved, and that's great. But he never said. What do you say? He never said it was a mental. He never said that he didn't need help or whatever. That he was fine or something like that. He keeps saying that over and over again. So then he wakes up in a bathroom and he has an alcohol bottle and he's like, "Huh, alcohol bottle. Well, I'm not drunk. Hmm." He puts the bottle down and he starts taking a shower. And then when he's done, this guy comes in and starts attacking him, and it's Dodd. And and it's like, oh, okay, cool. In a scene previously, I forgot to mention that he wakes up from a memory thing and he was being chased by Dodd. He's like, "Am I chasing this guy? Oh no, he's chasing me. He has a gun." So then we see Dodd chasing Lenny, and he gets away, and then he's like, "Oh, this fucker's going down. I gotta get him." And he looks at his notes. He's like, "Natalie um, needs help with to take care of Dodd." And he's like, "Oh." So he goes and he waits in the hotel room and he grabs the wine bottle and waits for him. And then he has the mind resetting thing. But right before he went into Dodd's room, he went into hotel room number 9 instead of 6. So as soon as the guy like checks the eye hole thing or whatever, he kicks down the door and it's some black guy and he's like, "Oh shit, sorry." He just backs up and he goes to the correct room. Okay, awesome. Wow. Okay, random meme. um, and then it flashes back again, and we get this is where he's tattooing on his leg the fact number 5. Um, I forget what fact number 5 was, but it was relevant to his goal of trying to find his wife's murderer. Um, then we get a scene where he is burning his wife's stuff. We learn that he starts burning a teddy bear and a comb and a book, and then it flashes back to his wife reading this book. He's like, why are you reading that book? You've read it 1,000 times. She's like, "Because I enjoy it." And he was like smelling the book for memory purposes, and he was just burning them, and we don't know why. And then we see a mention of drugs and a John G in a flashback. That's what I wrote down. Um, I think this is where he's talking to someone on the phone, and this was fact number five. It was had to do with drugs, um, and he was talking to someone on the phone, and he was getting information about how this John G is related to drugs. He wasn't a person taking drugs. He was a drug dealer. He's like, oh yes. He's looking at his notes. Oh yes, that makes sense. So he makes that a fact. Um, and then it cuts to him waking up in a hotel room and surrounded by his wife's stuff that he just burned in the previous scene. Um, all right, cool. Um, and he hears someone in the bathroom, and he opens the door, and it's a prostitute, and she's like, "Oh, hey, I'm just doing some drugs. You want to join me?" And he's like, no, I want you to leave though. So she leaves. She's like, "All right, whatever." Um, and then yep, John G is a drug dealer. Uh, and then it cuts to him entering this inn. It's called the Discount Inn for the first time. So he takes anything he that he knows that he owns or has or where he is. He takes a picture of. So his car, he takes a picture of. The inn he goes to, he takes a picture of. Anybody he meets that's important, he takes a picture of. What? Back in my day, we had Final Fantasy X on the Xbox or
PS2.
PS2. Anyways, um, first time going to the inn, and then we see him ordering an escort from Amazon Escorts. I didn't know they had that service back then. Thanks, Jeff Bezos. Anyways, um, we then learn. So basically, he has this prostitute. He's like, "Hey, I want you to spread these things around," and she's like, "Okay, that's weird, but whatever gets you off." Um, and let's see, Sammy's wife at oh yeah, this is where Sammy's wife was at Lenny's office and asked him about the is Sammy faking or it's real. Anyways, whatever. It's all the same.
She essentially kills herself.
No, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. Yeah, this is later. Um, trust me, because there's a lot of flashbacks to Sammy. Um, I fucked up the last one. He fucked up this one. It's okay.
Oh, you mentioned.
I think the last one was the wife trying to get the husband to remember stuff, and she was kind of forcing it. Like she was kind of yelling at him, like, "Oh, it's time for your food. You forgot about your food." He's like, "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know I was doing that." Um, and her trying to force him to remember and trying to get on the fast track, even though that's not going to happen. Anyways, Sammy faking is real. Teddy, then he reads a note. He meets. Oh, Teddy says, "Oh, you can't trust Natalie. You just, came out of her house, um, but you can't trust her. She's involved with like bad stuff, like drugs and stuff like that." Um, and then it flashes back to him getting another motel room, um, and the it mentions "Don't believe Teddy's lies" on the back, and it goes to uh, crosses. Oh, right, right. Um, oh, right, right, right. So he had a picture of Natalie, and we finally get a message that there was a message scribbled out this whole time, and we finally see what it says, and it says on hers, "Don't trust her." Um, but Oh, someone's here. Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Um, but because Teddy's picture has don't believe Teddy's lies on it, he doesn't trust what Teddy says, and so he crosses off the don't trust Natalie on her picture. He's like, oh, okay, whatever. Um, and then it cuts to uh, Natalie comes back to her house with Lenny there, and she just came back after getting beat up by Dodd, and we learn like, yeah, he just hit me, and this is where she asked him for help about stuff, and they kind of go back and forth, and she starts insulting his wife, and he's like, "Hey, don't insult my wife," and she's like, "What? Insult your wife? I can say whatever the fuck I want to say, like." It doesn't he doesn't I can say like that you're an idiot and you're dumb, and she's like, well, I'm with a fucking retard, blah 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 thing that was in the movie. That was in the movie. Anyways, um, or a quote from the movie, I should say. Um, and she's like, I can say that you're a fucked up weirdo guy, and you won't remember a frickin' thing. And and he starts, um, he gets really mad at her, and it turns out Lenny is the one. Lenny is the one that starts beating um, Natalie up, and which is kind of funny because the scene before he's like, oh, what happened? Oh, Dad beat you up? Oh my God! Here, let me get you some ice. Like it's just kind of funny, but at the same time it's sad that he just can't remember. Um, um, so we learned that Teddy took everything from Jimmy, and she got. This is what she was saying that Teddy took everything from Jimmy and got beat up. So there's a lot of like things that are happening that we don't know what's true and what's not true, which is kind of cool. Um, and then it kind of flashes back to him talking to someone on the phone again, and he reads a tattoo that says, "Don't don't talk to people on the phone." And he's like, as soon as he sees that he's on the phone, he's like, "Wait, who is this?" And the person hangs up. Oh, random meme. Oh, it's Waka looking over Waka, and he's like, "Sorry, but Machina is forbidden." He's like, "Machina is forbidden." He's unplugging the machine.
On Trapu.
Oh, is that his son?
Yeah, no,
Oh.
it's brother.
Oh.
Trapu.
That's right. Oh my God, that was so random. Um,
Then there's this one too. Woman will fuck anything.
Even Waka.
What are you rapping, Mike?
We're reviewing the movie.
No, what's this stuff?
What?
No, what is that?
It's a goatee.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I've always had it.
I haven't seen it.
I've had it for years.
You got your hair cut.
Yeah, I got my hair cut.
Maybe that's what's different.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what's different.
Okay.
Anyways, oh, sorry. Apologies. Where were we? Got beat up, no calls. Uh, Natalie says she's fearful of Dodd. Um, Jimmy and Teddy. Uh, oh yeah, this is where we learn that yeah, Lenny beats Natalie, and she can use Lenny. Um, and she keeps mentioning like a cop or whatever. He goes to a bar to meet Natalie, and she mentions, oh yeah, a cop was asking about you, and he's just sitting alone at this bar, and he's like, I don't remember any cop. I had this condition. She's like, yeah, I know. Um, and cop wants Lenny, or cop wanted to talk to Lenny or something like that. Um, and this is where we go back to the day of the wife's death, the memory of that. And I think it's Natalie that kind of asks, like, "Hey, what's the deal with your wife or whatever?" And it kind of goes into him waking up. She's not in bed. It's cold, and he's like, "Well, she's been gone for a while." And he hears a noise coming from the bathroom, and he grabs a gun, and he kicks down the door, and it's a guy over his wife, and she's like covered in plastic, and he shoots one guy and goes towards his wife, and another guy appears and pushes him into the mirror, and then he falls on the porcelain, and he starts bleeding from his brain. Um, and that's the last thing that he remembers, was him. He was looking at his dead wife, watching her die, basically. Um, and so there's the second man in the rape and murder. So he killed one of them, but the other one escaped, basically. Um, and then it um, goes back to the first time he was in a room with Natalie, um, and he or at her house, and he took a picture of her to remember her because she seemed important. And he's like, "Wait, why am I here?" And she's like, "Cause you're here to help me." Um, that's pretty much what it was. Um, and he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, helping you, yeah, that's right." And he pulls out this huge file of, you know, his case, and she keeps asking about his condition, like, "How do you like know what's real and what's not real?" He's like, "Well, because I write it down. That's my job. That's what I've done for years. I write stuff down, and whatever I write down, I remember it. That's why people write stuff down." Well, duh. Um, let's see. He goes to a hotel. Then he cuts a flashback of him in a hotel, and someone slipping under the door. Take my call, because now this time um, he's not taking calls. He's wary of people calling him, and he's like, "Oh, okay." So then he takes the call, and he's like, "Hey," and he starts basically talking about Sammy and stuff like that. Um, and through this the whole time, you can tell there's different flashbacks. Um, if they're black and white, it's basically him talking about Sammy or whatever. Let's see, and then it cuts back to at the bar, I believe, and he's like, "Yay, I got this note on the back of this coaster, and it said meet Natalie at this place." And he's like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And this is where Natalie notices Lenny's condition, and so a really funny scene happens where she does this bar bet, to see if his how his memory is, and she has this guy spit into this cup of beer, and she's like, "Hey, I'm doing a bar bet. Spit into this cup." And he's like, "What? I don't want to do that." She's like, "No, it's a bar bet. The pot's really big." And he's like, "Okay." So he spits into it, and then she spits into it, and then she mixes it up. He's like, "What's this for?" "Oh, don't worry, it's a bar bet." And um, it cuts to him being at a table, and her serving him the beer that's quote unquote on the house and full of spit, but he can't remember, which is really funny. uh, then it kind of goes back again, and we learn that Jimmy knows Lenny, and the cop was mentioned again. So Lenny knows Jimmy. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Um, yep, and then they all spit in the mug, blah blah blah. Uh, and then another Sammy story where wife gives Sammy a final exam where She has diabetes, and she is given at 3 o'clock. She's supposed to be given her diabetes
Insulin.
or yeah insulin injection, and she gets one, and then she winds back the clock 15 minutes, and she's like, "Hey, Sammy." He's like, "Yeah, it's time for my insulin." He's like, "Oh, okay," which is you know kind of goes into the condition of mm, okay, that was weird. Condition of he can remember complicated things if he's done them before the
Yeah.
incident, but the short-term memory just isn't there, which
And
is
that
pretty.
she's trying to prove this is her final test to try to prove that he's faking it.
No, no, just to see if he can get better. She wants him to get better, and like if
That it
her
also said to see if he was faking it.
no, she was asking Lenny if it was real or fake. I think in his dialogue he was just like um, he was kind of projecting his own theory in his own way because he's more an investigative guy, and he's like he says I wonder if she's thinking if it's real or fake this condition, and if it's a condition that can get better or this is a permanent thing. Um, um, and where was I? Oh, I went the wrong direction. Silly me. Um, and gets a bunch of insulin stuff. So she gets like 3 or 4 in a row, and she's crying this whole time. And she starts crying, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, this won't hurt that much." And she gets so much insulin that she passes out and she dies. And um, she dies, and he doesn't know what has happened. So then he's put into like a home where he can't remember um, anything, um, short term wise. Wife is dead, um, and then Lenny admits that he was wrong about Sammy. Like he admits he's like, oh, it was a real thing. It wasn't a fake thing. Or he never. Then he's like, wait, no, I never said it was he was faking it. I just said it wasn't. It was a mental thing, not a physical thing. Um, or a psychological thing. Um, and then we see him getting fact number 6, which was the car license. Um, and Teddy stops in for a little bit. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "Oh, do I know you?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm Teddy. Come on, Lenny, you know me." He's like, "Oh, okay." Um, so he's getting the car, the car license. Um, cops was looking for Lenny. Let's see, Teddy. Oh, and then Teddy says, "Jimmy's a drug dealer. Like he's a bad guy. You can't trust him." But then he looks at Teddy's photo again and says, "Don't believe his lies." Like, okay, I'm not gonna believe him. Um, then we learn that another flashback there goes in reverse again. That Teddy is a cop. He's the cop that was trying to look for Lenny. This whole time, this guy is a cop. Um, his name is Officer Gamble, but he's an undercover cop, so he goes by Teddy. He doesn't want to get found out by people, basically. Um, and then we see Lenny driving to the old building at the beginning of the movie with the blue truck that was there, the same truck that had the bullets in it, and we go, "Oh, well, this is a familiar scene. Okay, this is interesting." It's like we're getting to the bottom of what's happening here, and why he doesn't. It's like the question the whole time is why doesn't he trust Teddy? Why doesn't he trust Teddy? Why doesn't he trust Teddy? Um, and then he drives to this house, and then we see Jimmy in the Jaguar driving to this building or whatever, and before Lenny um, goes to this building, he's talking to Teddy, and Teddy's like, "You're gonna get this son of a bitch, right? You're gonna get this son of a bitch." He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get this son of a bitch." And this whole time, he has an intention of killing this Jimmy guy with the Jaguar. And then, as we see, Lenny pulls a gun out on Jimmy, starts beating him up. He's like, I want you to strip." Takes off all his clothes, and um, then he kills him. He chokes him, and he's like, "What? What do you want? I got 200,000 in the car. You can take it. I don't care. Just don't kill me." And he's like, "No, I'm not gonna let this go." He's like, "What do you want?" He doesn't care about the money. He's like, "What do you want?" He's like, "I don't want to get blood on my clothes." And he's like, "Oh shit!" And he chokes him out, and he dies. Um, and then he puts on Jimmy's clothes. And this whole time he has this like really nice suit, and um, there's different themes of there's like a one part where Teddy's like, you know, how, if you have this like memory problem, how do you have this money? Like, how do you have this nice suit? Like, how do you how do you I guess people are going to be asking questions all the time, what do you do before this? Like, how do you still have money? Blah blah blah. Um, let's see. And then he drags his body to the basement, which kind of explains like right before Teddy died, he was like, "Let me show you the basement." Well, he brings Lenny brings Jimmy to the basement, and then he loses memory, and he wakes up, and he's like, "Who's this dead guy?" And Teddy walks in, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "Oh my God, I need help. There's this guy on the floor. I have this condition." He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know you have this condition. Whatever." Um, uh, and then Teddy is kind of like he's dealt with this so many times. He just like lays it all on the line like really heavy this time, and he's just like, yeah, I know, yeah, he's dead. You did your thing. You got that was the guy that you wanted to kill, and he's like, what guy? What? Oh, you mean John G? Yeah, that was John G or Jimmy or whatever. You've you killed. Do you want to know why you know so much about Sammy? And then it kind of reveals that Sammy's just made up. It's not Sammy. It's Teddy. Or not sorry, um, Lenny.
Mm-hmm.
Lenny is the person that had the memory thing, and he just makes up the story about Sammy to make him feel good about himself. Let's see what I wrote down. We know that Teddy's kind of a dirty cop, and there's this whole deal with he says Jimmy killed the wife. He's like, yeah, you got your revenge. Awesome, cool. Um, and Lenny and then it's revealed that Lenny's wife is actually still alive. Um, and Sammy's memory is Lenny's. So this is kind of like the big reveal. Oh, right. It's kind of this big reveal. I'm like, good. Um, so Sammy's memory is Lenny's. Let's see. And he made up this whole story about Sammy because his wife left him because she couldn't take the memory thing anymore. Um, and he killed the John G like a year ago, and so basically Teddy's like, yeah, you killed him a year ago. You stop being an asshole. Like your John G is already dead. Me and you go around, um, killing like all these John G's because you keep making up clues for yourself. You basically gave yourself an infinite clues so you could keep solving this case over and over and over again. And don't worry about the Jimmy thing. We got $200,000. It was a case of where you could get your quote unquote revenge, and we can go, but we can split the money and you know have money to have fun and stuff like that. So John G's already he's been in for like a year, and Teddy was the only cop that believed in Lenny, and it goes back to the crime scene of he's a brain damaged guy who believes that this John G is at large, but the cops don't believe him, and this Teddy um, or Officer Gamble was the only one that believed in him, and they went and killed John G, or at least different versions of John G's. Like, you killed so many people, you don't remember. It doesn't matter. But I'm getting what I want. You're getting what you want. It's a good thing we have going. And basically, this is pissing off Lenny. He's like, but I'm not a killer. He's like, oh, you're not, but because of your memories, it makes you a great. That's why because of your condition, it makes you so good at killing people because you can't remember. Um, and basically, they keep finding the John G's and kill them because they look for drug dealers that are bad, I guess. But he is a dirty cop and stuff like that. He's a real cop. Um, and then this is where Teddy kind of shows him like a picture of it's a picture of Lenny being really happy. He's like, you see that picture of you being really happy? That was when you killed the real John G. And I made a picture of it so you could remember. And he also took a picture of um, Jimmy when he killed Jimmy. Just yeah, I know. Um, I know this is like super complicated, but in the movie, it's explained so well and it organized so well that me just talking about it doesn't really do it justice. But I'm trying my hardest. we are trying. We are trying our hardest. Um, so Teddy pisses off Lenny, and this is the part when he sees Lenny's picture. He's just like, "Fuck this guy! I fucking hate this guy." See, and even even Officer Gamble, he's just like in his rant. He was like, "Fuck, I'm a John G. You could kill me next for all I know." Sorry, random message. Um, this is where he writes, "Don't believe his lies," on Teddy's picture. Uh, and then he burns the pictures of Jimmy, Jimmy being dead and himself being super happy. And basically, he's lying to himself so he can kill another John G over and over and over again. And this is where he writes down. He's like, do I forget this, or do I write this down to fuck over Ted, who's pissed me off, even though I know what my condition is, a memory condition. So, which was fact number 6, which was the license plate number of Teddy's car, or of the cop's car, basically. And the movie ends with him going to the tattoo parlor to get that tattoo, which is just crazy insane because he immediately forgets, and that's how it ends. So the big twist was going backwards was Teddy pissed him off. He's like, "You're a killer," but I'm not a killer. And he pissed him off so much that he made you know Teddy the target. And it would have just taken him like 2 seconds to go down the basement to see the body of Jimmy and go, "Oh," and basically Teddy going, "Yeah, that was Jimmy G. That was the guy who killed your wife." And it would have been a lie, but they could have kept that thing going. And we don't know his next John G. Maybe. Because, or maybe that was the last time he can do it. Because maybe now
Because
he
you
goes
want
to
to
jail.
have Teddy to control him
Well, doesn't have Teddy to control him.
and tell him who to target.
And because that was a specific license plate, he can confirm, like, oh, yeah, I killed the guy already, and he could be done. Or maybe he won't be done. Maybe he'll erase that and be like, no, that's not the real John G. There's probably another John G somewhere out there, and he'll make up another clue or something like that. But, really good movie. Huge twist at the end. And it was a really good job of telling a story backwards. I didn't think. I'm sure there's other stories you can. I'm sure there's other stories out there that are told backwards. I don't know any of them, but they're probably not as good as this. This was very well done. Hey, doggy love. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we're getting someone check the internet here. Memento and 10 more other movies that are told backwards.
Happy end.
1966 movie.
Starts with his execution and tells his story.
Oh, okay. I'm sure there's other movies out there.
Betrayal.
Betrayal! Betrayal! Betrayed me!
Peppermint Candy. The Sweet Hereafter. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. 5x2. Shimmer Lake. Irreversible. Tenet.
Oh, right, Tenet.
Which is another Christopher Nolan
Yeah.
movie.
I've seen that. That was an okay movie. It wasn't the best. But this movie was fucking great. It's slow at parts, but the mental mindfuck that is given to you. Yeah, my hand tastes good. I know it does. The mental mindfuck that it gives you, and the twist at the end, super good. You don't see it coming, like at all. The whole time, you are intrigued by every character that's there. Natalie, Teddy, um, even Lenny himself, and Sammy, and you're intrigued. You're like, what's gonna happen? You're like on the edge of your seat, even though there's not a whole lot of action. Um, it's just trying to remember stuff and what he does and where he goes and why is this guy chasing me? Am I chasing him? No, he's chasing me. Why do I have this car? Why is my car door window broken? Why do I have all these tattoos on me? Why do I have this bottle of booze? Was I drinking last night? No, it was a weapon. So I read out of 5 stars. I'd say 4.5.
I'd say about the same.
4.5 out of 5. It wasn't a 5 out of 5 just because there's some parts that were just kind of like drawn out and slow. But the mind fuck really gets you. It's super good, and I can't. Usually it's this guy that's recommended me movies, but I showed him one that I've seen and he hasn't seen before, which is very, 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 very rare for that to happen. Yeah, I know. We're gonna go for a ride soon, okay?
Then that was our review. Next week we'll be doing probably Prisoners,
Oh my
which
God,
is
it's an hour long. Holy shit.
which is kind of a similar movie.
No.
One of my favorite thrillers, or mystery thrillers.
Gotta stand up.
But Like, subscribe, comment, help us towards that like goal. We're at halfway towards watching the second season of One Piece. But
How-
if we get 8,000 or total 10,000 subscribers, we'll just go ahead and watch all of One Piece without the 1,000 likes.
So he's saying don't subscribe and don't like our videos.
Do the exact opposite.
No,
I'm derp.
no One Piece. It's too long. There's like a thousand million episodes. Stop it.
I'm derp.
I'm Ski Nerd.